Hello there. Welcome to another Czech day trip with me, Paul Colto. I hope you're sitting comfortably. Maybe you've just poured yourself a glass of red wine, possibly a Malbec, or even a Czech Moravian Modrý Portugal. On today's trip, we're going to see a stunning reservoir, an enormous hydropower plant, some exotic wildlife, a curiously deserted Baroque chateau, and some mouth-watering fried cheese. A link to a map of this trip is in the description. Thank you for the supportive and encouraging comments on the previous video. You continue to inspire me to make more of these videos. If you feel compelled to, please do leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer. Our trip today starts in Čechovice, a town to the south of Prague, about a 40-minute bus ride from Praha Smíchovské nádraží train and bus station. And this, for a long time, was, and perhaps still is, my favorite trip in the Czech Republic. It starts next to the reservoir, the Čechovice Reservoir, which is a dam that was built between 1937 and 1945 on the Vltava River. And as you walk along next to the river, you are greeted by sights like this. Boat rides along this river are possible from Prague and go as far as the Slapy hydro power plant, which we'll see later in the video. I stumbled on this children's summer camp, also a camp for people wandering through the countryside, and I felt it was time for a small glass or cup or whatever that is of black coffee. A lizard I spotted in the thicket. I continued along the river and just take this in. The stillness and the clear water. Absolutely stunning. Not another person in sight. But in this tunnel, I met someone I wasn't expecting to, who challenged me.
You shall not pass!
But I did pass, and continued on my merry way. Cottages pepper the hillside, and views like this take your breath away. And whoever owns this little cottage has created their own slice of heaven. Souvenirs and an honesty box, and something truly terrible. After 9 kilometers walking next to the reservoir, we take some steps up into the village of Třebenice, and from here you have a pub, an ice cream shop and a bus stop that can take you back to Prague. so if you just want a short 10-kilometer hike, this is a perfect endpoint. But I continued, dear viewer, just for you. And only 300 meters down the road is the slappy hydroelectric power station. It has 4 turbines, and standing on the bridge in the middle, I put my hand on the protective barrier and could feel the bridge actually shaking. So I continued on my way back into the countryside towards a series of villages which I was curious to wander through. The first such village was Rabině, a typical Czech village, peaceful, sleepy, and a small fish pond just on the outskirts. The weather today was beautifully sunny in the morning as I walked past the CHATEAU reservoir, but became a little bit more overcast in the afternoon. And this was a magical moment. I could see the church spire of the approaching village and even hear the bell. The village was Vysoké Újezd, and lunchtime had arrived after 14.5 kilometers of beautiful hiking. My lunch was much the same as previous weeks, and I treated you to a cross-section at the very beginning of the video. The rubber bands are there, of course, to maintain the structural integrity of the sandwich. This panorama was highlighted on the map as a place to stop, ponder, absorb and cherish before continuing through the hills, the meadows and the fields. The village of Nedvořice was similar to the other villages I typically pass through, though this one had a pub. And every village has little tiny differences to the last one, and maybe something you spot in someone's front garden. And a little later I arrived in Břežany, another typical small village. And by this point I was starting to feel a little bit disappointed that there hadn't been any truly adventurous moment yet, until I reached Le Chany Chateau, a Baroque chateau with courtyard arcades and the Chapel of St. Vitus, decorated with frescoes by J.V. Spitzer from 1758. The door was open, so I entered. Not a soul in sight anywhere, just lots of furniture in the courtyard, and I wasn't sure if I was supposed to help myself to this. And joined was this little bar and terrace with a bowling alley and a billiard table. And after a while a gentleman came to the bar and I asked him if I could sit on the terrace and have a beer. He said, "Yes, that's fine, but the only beer we have at the moment is Pilsner Urquell." And I said, "That will do nicely." Nobody anywhere. Just this wandering English gentleman through the beautiful Czech countryside, stumbling on an old Baroque chateau. The gentleman brought me an ice-cold beer After all the hiking, this felt good, and this felt even better. Refreshed and approaching 3 o'clock, I continued on my way, my spirits lifted by that wonderful encounter with the chateau. My final destination was now approaching, the town of Kamenný Přívoz. I knew it had a nice pub next to the river that flows through it, and thought this would be a perfect ending point for my trip. And here, entering the village, I was heartened to see that the pub was open, the garden was open, and I would be able to conclude this trip with an ice-cold beer by the river. The garden in question and the ice-cold beer in question. After 2 beers, my hunger started to appear. I looked on the map and spotted another pub 500 meters away with a familiar friend on the menu. And of course, it was the perfect, poetic conclusion to a beautiful trip. There, in all its glory, fried cheese. My bus back to Prague. Some reflections on the trip. And another beautiful day in the Czech countryside. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe and share. Happy tripping and toot toot.